You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to our program today, The Debate. And today we are going to have a very, very interesting conversation. I'm very, very thrilled to have two men with me, and I'm sure that you're going to like the conversation today. Today we are welcoming you, ladies and gentlemen, to the important discussion, especially now as schools are resuming for those who are in Cameroon. We want to welcome on board, of course, Mr. Butum Emmanuel, who is the curriculum planner and who is the founder of the initiative for career and education. Thank you so much, Mr. Buntu, for being here, and I appreciate the host, Mr. Elvis Mbolifor, for being here. Mr. Elvis, you're welcome. How are you today?
I'm okay, ma'am. Thank you for being there for us.
Thank you so very much. The conversation today is about education, orientation, and all what students will need to know and to have. And that's why I'm wishing the conversation today a very, very fruitful one. And I give over to Mr. Elvis Mbolifor, who is the host of the program, and of course to Mr. Bonto Emmanuel, who of course is our panelist today and the expert who will be telling us about how students should be orientated, and of course how parents should be watchful for all kinds of orientations we are having out there. Good luck and God bless you all.
Thank you so much for beginning the program for us. We are always happy when you are around. I am Bolifo Elvis, your host and the moderator, of course, for this program. And I have with me as guest speaker today Mr. Butum Emmanuel Yunchum, who is a master student in University of Buea, Cameroon, of course, and he is a curriculum designer. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon again, we'll be looking at a very crucial topic, like already we're informed. And before we go even to the topic, we want to congratulate those who have made it in their end of year exams and fighting up and down, moving up and down, struggling to see how they can get themselves fitted into professional schools. For our topic this afternoon, we are looking at by 2063, the Africa we want should have engaged and empowered youth and children. And the question, the $1 million question we are asking ourselves this afternoon is, how can career orientation help achieve this goal? How can career orientation help achieve the Africa that we want? And like we said, this topic is so timely and it's coming when students are so desperate, and parents as well, struggling to know where their children will go to, which type of professional school they will be enrolled in, and what they actually will come out with. And so today we want to answer the question, or one that after this conversation, those students, your children who will be getting to professional schools, when they come out, they should be able to answer the question, what can you do, when they are asked in an interview, when they're looking for jobs. So this is what we want to acquire at the end of this conversation. This is the objective of this conversation. And I want all of you to join me welcome Mr. Buntum, that we already introduced, and we would like him to tell us more about himself, tell us about curriculum designing and what it takes to design a curriculum. Mr. Butum, you're welcome to this platform. And like I said, this is your platform, this is our platform, that let's join together and see how we can make Africa better. You're welcome to the debate.
Thank you very much, the host, Mr. Elvis. It's always a pleasure to be on such a platform to see how we can, in our different ways, assist students in developing themselves, and so that we can see how to achieve the kind of Africa we want for ourselves. Like you earlier said, my name is Butum Emmanuel Yunchum. I am the founder of ISED Initiative for Career Education. I came up with this initiative because I was inspired by uh, my life journey. Actually, I'll be giving a life story of how I had lived, and I came to discover that there is an absence in our educational system. There is an absence of orientation in educating students, in educating pupils, right from the level from basics from the nursery to the basic education to the secondary to the tertiary, and why not after graduation? So there is that need, and there is that great need for orientation to play a key role. Before I will want to answer the question as to how orientation can assist us in attaining the Africa we want by 2063, I will first of all want to work with some terms. And these are the terms that I would love to define before I move ahead. These terms are education, which has to do with the totality of a person's learning experiences in his or her lifetime. It is not classified whether it is formal, whether it is informal. It has to do with the totality of a person's learning experiences. Then we have the concept of career. A career can be defined as the sequence and variety of occupations undertaken for a significant period of a person's life with opportunities for progress. More broadly, career includes life rules, environmental ethics of the society, leisure activities, how environmental adaptability, learning, knowledge and development and enhancement, and work, that is job creation, problem solving, socialization, thinking, and enhancement. So all of these, if education is not able to train us to be morally adaptive to the environment in which we are, if education doesn't give that room or that space for us to be able to develop intellectually, to be able to meet up with the ethics of the society, environmental adaptability, knowledge development and enhancement, and the problem solving as well as job creation skills, socialization and thinking, then we are moving towards a dark era. So it becomes very important that orientation should play a very key role in the student's career, because for you to achieve a career, like I earlier said, has to do with the sequence and variety of occupations. They are actually so wide. Education exposes us to a broad base of career, because when we go to school, we acquire knowledge from different spheres, from different angles, pertaining or based to the subjects that we study. So all of that cannot lead us to anywhere if you are not oriented properly to be able to focus your activities towards a particular career. So it's very important. Then the concept of orientation, of career orientation, sorry, has to do with the development of instructional guidance program, that is an instructional guidance program designed to prepare students to have a greater understanding of this educational environment and career opportunities and options to assist them in making meaningful and informed career choices. It is very true, you bear with me, that if you are not informed, the person who is informed is the person who holds the world. If you are not informed, then you are in the dark age. So it is very, very important that career orientation be inculcated into our educational systems, so that at least these children should be able to make decisions at whatever levels they are. So being a curriculum designer, I'm still a student, I'm a master student in curriculum designing. Being a curriculum designer, I believe that there are many of these lapses in the tertiary system of education. I will mention just the tertiary because I know clearly that for those who have already passed the GCE right now, some are jubilating. Those who are waiting to, put on, remove the uniform on themselves and get into the university, they are very happy about it, and there is fun and there is joy. Everybody wants to move to that level. But the question is, what specifically do you need for yourself? What specifically do you need for yourself becomes the problem. And if we must move to the Africa we want by 2063, then it is very, very, very important that we identify our career paths. If our career paths are well organized and we are moving towards our informed career choice, then definitely we are moving towards a good future, a future that has a bright a bright or a glowing, a glowing it's very, very feasible for us to move towards such a future. So for career orientation, generally, it has all the levels. It moves at all levels. There is no specification pertaining to our career orientation is needed basically either at the undergraduate or the postgraduate or the high school or secondary school or primary. But for parents who are present here with us today, and for those who are also caretakers of students, you have to understand that it is very important. If you must send your child to school right now, it should be very important that you are able to identify that these institutions are able to provide just the best of qualities for your children to be able to acquire the necessary skills that you expect. Our parents today, especially us who are in the less developing countries, they expect a lot from education. And for so many decades ever since the so-called formal education was introduced to us, it has been failing wholeheartedly. It has failed in many ways. And if you look at the contents, you will discover that the contents are actually there. If you look at the instructors, you see that the instructors are actually there. If you look at the learning environments, you see that the learning environments are actually present. But the question is, why is it that after these studies, these students go out to the communities and they are not up to anything? The question of who am I? What can I actually do? You end up studying something else in school, and after school, you don't see yourself excelling well either in the field you studied or in that particular field that you have a lot of zones or anxiety to further your skills in. So basically, when we talk about curriculum development has a lot of stages, and these stages has to do with uh, it has to do with orientation, setting up goals and objectives in designing a curriculum. Because in designing a curriculum, there is need for each and every educational setting administrative team to monitor the objectives of this institution. But it's rather shameful that there are many of these institutions that have these goals and objectives written in theory. Implementation becomes a big problem. Implementation for all of these becomes a big problem. So for today, I think that as we move ahead, we are going to explore all the various phases and stages of curriculum or designing a quality curriculum for the students. And I believe that this is what the parents actually need to know in assessing or in evaluating an institution before sending their children to these institutions. Thank you very much, Mr. Elvis, once more for bringing me to this platform.
Thank you for that submission and for your insight. I think I gathered from what you just presented now. I had some few points that I noted down, which will be coming back to them. You defined and you went further to define education, and I summarized it as totality of a person's learning experiences. Equally, we had career, which we'll be dwelling so much with today. And you said that it depends on, it relies on learning, development, job creation, thinking, as well as enhancement, not forgetting socialization. And I am so happy that you are here. And the questions are already coming up. Actually, see, look at the different types of orientation, of career orientation designs, and then we see which one actually we are using in our country, or which one is important that you think
Of,
we can apply. So, are there some different types of career
of course, basically
designs,
there are too
and
many.
what
There are too
is
many.
the
But when it
type
comes to
you use?
education, we begin to look at the, the 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 transmissions orientation sessions that education carries. If you want to look at it basically for what runs, Cameroon runs a transmission orientation. That is a nature of the educational system in which the theorists believe that uh, the function of education is geared towards transmitting information, facts, concepts, principles, theories, skills, and values onto the student. In that case, the child is an empty sheet. You just need to put in whatever you have as a whatever stock of knowledge that has already been prepared, a bunch of knowledge that has already been prepared. You have to put it into this. But that is not the case. Today, we have to be able to see that the world is changing. If you lock up children in the room, there is a high probability that in 1 year's time you come and you open up the room, they must have manifested, they must have done something differently, even though there was nobody there, there was nobody in the name of a tutor to teach them anything. You will discover that they have actually done something. So it's very important to note and to make sure that if our educational system do not move from this transmission orientation, which has to do with thinking that the child is just an empty vessel, and so just some bunch of knowledge should be stocked into the child, to an era where we feel that uh, I so much believe in it, that the child is born with some insight in the child, with some knowledge, with some experience in the child. The child is born with some skills already in the child. And so, what education should be doing should not necessarily be pumping this information, some structured bunch of knowledge into the child, but education should orientate these children, should carve out what exactly this child, or what exactly is the future of this child looking like. What exactly are those inborn skills that are in within this child? And in that case, these children would greatly develop these skills. And so, if we have to do that, what then should we put in place? Should we put in place a curriculum that looks at what a bunch of some knowledge that has already been put in place, or we should look at readjusting or restructuring our curriculum to reflect our context, which is what I stand for? If our educational system or curriculum is not designed to reflect our concept, our context, then we are moving towards a blind future. In today's deliberations, I would like to make references to some subjects and some topics that we do study in the high school. These topics are uh, tourism, is fishing in Norway, which I always like to quote. We do tourism in Europe. All of those are not in any way having anything to do with our system, but it will be I don't want to say be shameful for some people or some viewers to know that these are key concepts of the general certificate of education. This is part of the content that appears on the curriculum of the General Certificate of Education Board, which is a problem. We cannot be in Cameroon and we do not contextualize our educational system to reflect us. We can't be in Cameroon and we are producing timber and we are not looking at producing engineers to exploit the timber. We cannot be in Cameroon and we have oils and we are not looking at the situation to train engineers to work on the oils. We can't be in Cameroon and we are talking about fishing and there is fishing in Limbe, there is fishing in other parts of Cameroon, and we are studying fishing in Norway. We can't be talking about afforestation out of Cameroon and we have the forest zones in Cameroon. So all of these do not reflect. I'm not saying that the knowledge learned is not important. I'm not saying that knowledge learned is not important. But what I'm trying to say is that if we do not contextualize it to reflect us, there are people that are born in Cameroon, will study in Cameroon, will die in Cameroon without ever leaving Cameroon. So we should concentrate on studying what is in our context, what is in our situation. So we shouldn't be in Cameroon and we are talking about abstract concepts to these students. It makes them feel like, either looking up to themselves as subordinates, as people who cannot make it, or looking up to themselves like people who are, there is another world that is much more driven and we have to begin to study the things in that class. And so we cannot talk about our own things. We have concepts that if we have to inculcate them into our educational system, it will be very, very important and it will help us in many ways. It becomes very difficult if a student of Cameroon I have a friend. I have a friend. I would like to share this with my viewers. I have a friend who studied at the University of Boya, who did engineering at the University of Boya, went to Sonara in Cameroon, to do internship, but was not given the opportunity to do it. He was not given the opportunity to do internship at Sonara. And in that Sonara, we have Germans doing internship there. We have Europeans doing internships there. We have people from other countries doing internship in that country. And you have students, you're training them to become engineers, and you cannot give them that opportunity. So there is that need, for our government to make sure that we actually contextualize our systems of education. It is very important. And even for the curriculum designers who are out there, there is one thing. If you are a designer or if you are an expert in whatever field you are, the objective, there is always one thing that you must come to a conclusion. And that one thing is that you should meet your objectives. I want to speak to the experts in the house, the curriculum designers in the house, to tell them that our educational system has a problem. It has a problem. I want to tell the parents, I don't need to keep back anything. Before we began with the with this session, Mr. Elvis made mention of professional schools in Cameroon, as parents will be, which is a term I really, really hate so much. Which is a term I really, really hate so much. When you talk about professional
Yes,
schools in
Mr.
Cameroon,
Butu,
because they are
yeah, let me come before we, Mr. Butu, let me come again before we continue with professionalism. I'm sure that you don't like that topic. We'll come back to that point. And then you see many people are asking that why do students leave school and are not able to be productive? So what is actually going wrong? What is going wrong? That is why we are here now to
exactly.
see how we can correct some of those things. What is going wrong in our educational system?
Oh, thank you very, very much, Mr. Elvis, for that question. Like I said, I'm a student and I have been carrying out research on the topic, the quality of the postgraduate education and its effects on the development of employability skills in graduates. This what pushed me to get into this research was the fact that we keep identifying in Cameroon, if we must do an assessment of the people, of the students or graduates that higher education sends out as outputs into the society every year, we will see that thousands upon thousands are being sent out yearly. Just the University of Boya graduates, postgraduate students, more than 1,000 every year. But the question is, what becomes of these students out there? When you come to the University of Boya, I will take a case study of it and to tell them that the problem is not that they lack knowledge. They don't lack knowledge. The problem is lack of orientation. The problem is lack of orientation. If you come to the University of Boya, for example, what I would tell them is that in UB, you are enrolled before you are oriented. That is, you are already taken into a program before they come and they do general orientation to these students, which is a problem. They enroll you and then they come and do departmental orientation. That is a shame to such a system. We are in the 21st century. We are in a digital system. We are in the highly technologicalized world where things should be done with some critical thinking. I'm a student. I've not even completed my course, but there is that need for us to know that what if these students are not oriented before they are admitted, we are driving towards that same train every day of graduates having either uh, uh, either being unemployed or underemployed or completely not having a place in the society, which is a big problem. Today, I think that if these students are oriented, that's why I came up with this initiative for career education. It is very important. Actually, the objective of this program was to run an orientation session in Form 4, in Form 3, Form 4, so that we see the outcome of the initiative to see that the students whom we orient in Form 3 move to Form 4 we do some kind of classification for these children, organize club activities to actually see those fields and where these students can actually excel more. It is very important. If you identify those fields where these students can excel and we begin to coach them, there is that coaching. We coach them towards their particular fields, it will help them enormously. It will help them very much. But when these children graduate and after they just say, you've passed 5 papers in the GCE, and they are, there is that anxiety in them. There becomes a problem of choosing, and the university should put in place a system to organize these students after these exams are released. It's not about passing the GCE, but what does the future hold for you after you have passed or you have excelled well in your education? It's very important. So these students graduate from school since they were enrolled into programs which sometimes they did not actually like. I have been doing admissions for some students for quite some years now, and these are the kind of complaints that I get. For example, like I talked, that the case study I'm using is the University of Boya. They come to school, a child doesn't even know the requirements for the program that he or she wants to study, which the admissions office of the University of Boya was supposed to have played a role by either working in collaboration with the counseling departments of these institutions surrounding it, where they get students every year,
Technical
to make
problems
sure
there.
that
We lost Mr. Boot.
to make sure that they are able to communicate together, get the knowledge necessary for these students, guide their fields, and make sure that they are driving towards a field that will assist them greatly in future. These students graduate and they come to school, and you ask a child that, do you have English language at the ordinary level? And the child says, no, I do not have English language at the ordinary level. And now you want to come to the University of Boya, and English language is a requirement for the University of Boya. Now there's that loss of resources, as the child is going to spend either a year, 1 full year down, to go back and write the English language at the ordinary level, or the child is going to pay some huge amounts of money that the University of Boya have put in place for the English language proficiency exams, which amounts to 40,000 francs. If you must enroll into the University of Boya and you don't have the English
We
language exams at the you will have to pay 40,000 francs. That is a problem. There is that loss of resources and time wastage. I believe so well that all the other institutions around, they do very will help the students to know the various requirements for the various fields and programs that they actually want to study. So it's very, very important. Lack of orientation becomes the problem. Some of these students even come into the University of Boya and discover that with their anxiety to come to the university, with that anxiety in them that I want to study, I want to come to UB, I want to come to UB, they come, and when they tell them that, look, you don't have requirements to study economics or accounting, what the child tells you is that, so what can I study? At that, during admission, the child is asking you that, what can I study? What exactly? I don't just know what to do. Can I go into curriculum studies and teaching in history? Can I go into curriculum studies and teaching in geography? Can I go into law? The child comes at the neck of admission and picks a program which is very wrong. You cannot sit in few minutes and decide a career path. And with that, these children graduate and do not either have interest in those fields which they studied in school, because they actually choose it only at the neck of time, or wastage of resources, wastage of time, and in that way, there is a big, big problem. These students either graduate and they cannot either excel or continue to further their education in those fields where they have interest in, or they graduate and they cannot even provide the skills, the necessary skills that they actually are supposed to. So that is where we have a problem of unemployment. And now you hear either unemployment, underemployment, because there is that child that just studied or chose a program that he or she wanted to study in the university at the neck of time. The child only chose it at the peak of admission, which is a problem. So it becomes very important that these children are oriented, these students are coordinated before they even get into choosing a program to study in the university. If you do not choose a program, a right program for yourself, you either have weaknesses furthering the program either at the master's or either moving forward to study more about the program, or you will have that challenge of, come on, this program, I don't actually have the love for this program. And so I may be thinking of either changing my program. And what the systems of Cameroon are failing to understand is that with these kind of systems, they keep pushing these children to the embassies of foreign nations in Cameroon. These children, every day, you find themselves, somebody's already at level 300, having just 1 year to graduate. The child has his or her opportunity to run to Dubai, and the child is very free and flexible to go in and forget about the so-called education in Cameroon. So the problem is poor orientation. We don't contextualize our educational systems, because if we orient these students, they will choose programs which they love, and they must have started it at the base. They must have grown in this career already, and it's not something that this child doubts. If today you go to the nursery school and you say, what do you want to become? You hear some children say, I want to become a doctor. I want to become a teacher. I want to become a professor. I want to become a pilot. I want to become an engineer. These are actually things that when you question these children and you want to monitor them, you begin to monitor them. That is what our educational system has to do. Monitor these children at those basic elementary levels and make sure that you are able to identify what is it that this child is best in, and what is that field that this child is best in. So it is very, very, very important. And I believe that our government too also has a lot to play. They also have a lot to play, because we are talking about thousands upon thousands of students who are graduating every year. But the question of what skills do you have is a problem. What skills do you have is a problem. So I believe that there is that space that many people can get engaged into to monitor. I want to advise and I want to talk to the curriculum designers specifically, especially for those so-called professional institutions, to please monitor your curriculum. Monitor and ensure that these students, monitor and ensure that the children who study in these schools come out with the necessary skills that they are supposed to have. If they do not have, then it's a shame upon you as a curriculum designer. It's a shame upon you as an administrator in an institution. It's a
Okay,
shame upon you
Mr. But
collect money from students or
let's
parents and you are able
let's
to do what actually they need.
Mr. Butum, can you get me?
Yes, sir, I can get you, Mr. Elvis. I can get you clearly, sir. So, like I was saying, Mr. Elvis, it is very important, and I believe that the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, can also play a big role in this, because if you come up with such initiatives like ESET, and we are many with these voices, we will greatly play a great role in that. We can move back into these institutions, because it's a problem in these schools. They actually have the counselors, But there is a big problem that you find a counselor in a school teaching history. In that case, the counselor has already been derailed from his or her activities. You find a counselor in an institution doing something else. So precisely, I believe that NGOs can assist. They can come in, create such platforms to orientate these children in school. I believe that individuals can also come in to assist, get to talk to these children, make sure that you evaluate the systems in which we have around us. If we evaluate these systems, then we'll be doing a great job for the future of our children. And by that, we will be securing a better Africa we want for our future kids and leaders. I believe that for all the parents should be able, to identify the various institutions, that can actually provide the necessary skills for their children. It is not just by sending their children to a school or an institution that has a name that is, in quotes, bearing professional there. There is much more to the term professional than the actual than the term. There is a lot to it than the term. So it's very, very important. So curriculum designers, of course, curriculum designers have enough powers. They have enough powers because when you are a curriculum designer is he who is able to monitor. A curriculum designer is that person who is able to monitor the system, design the programs, monitor the teachers, monitor the organization, and see that the organization meets with its objectives. If a system is not able to meet with its objectives, then there is need for restructuring. There is that need to restructure the curriculum. And our government is also not helping things because they are the ones also who are supposed to do general evaluation of these systems. They are supposed to come in place to see that they check these schools and make sure that the schools are actually producing the necessary output that they are supposed to. If they fail in producing it, then the government can shut down these institutions. It is not by producing students every year who cannot do anything, who cannot resolve the problems in the community in which we live. So it is very important that curriculum designers and our governments all come together. We have this problem just because these sectors of these systems are not working in close collaboration. Even if they are working to a lesser extent. So I believe so deeply that uh, curriculum designers can play a role in that. NGOs can play a role in that. Civil society organizations can play a role in that. The educational system itself can play a role in that for us to achieve the kind of Africa we want by 2063, because we want an Africa that solely independent on its own, an Africa that is able to provide, to transform the raw materials that we have to produce much more efficiency in the workforce and in also in the development of skills. That is very much, and I believe that if each and every individual, be you an administrator in this system, be you a curriculum designer, be you a teacher, be you a parent, be you the government, if we all can begin to do things the way we are supposed to do it and make sure that we evaluate if our objectives are being met, then we will definitely achieve the Africa we want by 2020, by 2063. Okay, what can be done specifically in the field of education? Basically, I think that it's just to do a restructuring of the system, because we can actually restructure. These programs were brought to us uh, 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 by the white man. The so-called formal education was introduced to us by the white man. And if today we are going astray, then we should pause and look at it. Where are we failing? So it's very, very important. It is very, very important that even though the educational system is there, there is also that need for the students to be able to be oriented towards their specific specific skills, specific careers, which will help each and everyone, be an expert in his or her own field. So I think that education precisely can do that. Education can do that. That is actually the main goal of education. If we look at what Doe writes in the uh, 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 Education for Kids, what she writes, she spells it out. What Bibiola Teresa Famongado writes, she says that the expectations of the university go beyond the basic mission of teaching, research, and service to the society. Higher education does not need to train without focusing on where the graduates will end up. That is the motive for professionalization. If we are still training students, if we are still training graduates just to graduate and get the certificate, then we are losing the path. We are losing the path. If we do not have the fields where we are focused to see that these students graduate to get to resolve these issues in our society, then there is a big problem. There is a big problem. There is a big problem. Before formal education came, we had our indigenous system of education, which has its many aspects. It has basically, I'll quote just two, the aspect of communalism, which we believe that we can come together as a team. What I know, I make you know it, and what you know, you make the other person know it, and we all can get the skills and get to move ahead. I believe so greatly that this is the best, and in today's world, we are still practicing it, even in the formal education system, though they will want to call it a different term. They want to call it a different term, but you see that there is still that communalism. We are coming together in a formal setting because we want to, exploit. The only difference between our indigenous system of education and the formal is that while us, was kind of variety open, moving towards this, towards that, our formal education system has come and done some classification, and limited us instead. I want to say it is limiting us because it has created a bunch of knowledge. If you have to become a curriculum designer, this is what you should know. This is what you should know. It gives that floor for research to say you should learn more and know more. But before it came, at least we were surviving. We had preparationism, where parents taught their children or trained their children to become what they are or what they wanted for them. If my father was a hunter, my father took me to follow him to the bush to hunt with him. And in that way, I gained the skills of hunting. If my father was a carpenter, I made sure that I followed up my father and learned the skills of carpentry. And in that case, it helped all of us. So I believe so well that if today education or formal education has come and is duping some of us, is duping some of these students to say that a child, like for example, a parent is a designer, a parent is a designer, and the child is saying that I don't want to become a designer, I want to become this, and you are sent to school, and at the end of the day, you graduate without ever seeing somebody, without ever working with a designer, even during your internship, then there is a problem. We find administrators who, who studied administration and they had never been to the field. So that basically is a problem. That basically is a problem. There are some students graduate as engineers and they have never visited a factory. That is a problem. So what basically we need is a system restructuring. It's a system restructuring. If we can restructure our system to reflect our context, if we can contextualize our systems, then we will do a lot. We'll be doing a lot of good in achieving the Agenda 2063, which is gaining the Africa that we want. Yes, yes, yes. Somebody is asking if it is true that Africa or educational system discriminated against girls, or rather denied them the possibility of having an education. Yes, to an extent, it did that. It did that, which is one of the weaknesses. I always want to put it as a weakness because I am somebody that I hate bias. I think that everyone is equal, and if you can do it, if he can do it, then she can do it. I believe so much in the she's, and I believe that the personality of a she must be respected and put at that level where he or she can also make decisions and get to also resolve community issues. If you want to think that the woman doesn't have a place in the society, then keep her out of the kitchen, and you will see how a great number of citizens will be dying because they are not eating or feeding well. So the place of women which were being restricted in the indigenous education was. But I would not want to limit it to parents. I want to still say it that it is clear. It is clear. This whole thing, you know, uh, actually revamped. It actually came in enormous when we had colonization, when colonization came to us, because when the whites came here, they were solely interested, especially if you look at during the time of slavery and slave trade and the trans-African or transatlantic slavery, you see that they were interested in men, those who actually had a workforce. So they were interested in people who were actually very powerful, even though they were taking some women, but they were interested in those very powerful people in the community who could actually work, you know, the way they wanted. So they were ready to exploit these people to the fullest. But in indigenous education, it's because there was some kind of, classification. I wouldn't want to even limit it or say that it was a big uh, um, weakness, because we are Africans, and we have our African cultures. So I want to believe that it was not that the ladies cannot learn what they ought to learn, but it was that it could be that the culture was, refusing to inculcate them in these systems. But I think that the way forward is today there is woman empowerment. The women are there and they are doing a lot. It's today, it's only today, you see today, and the president, the woman is a president. The woman is competing with a man. Some women are doing greater things that some men cannot do. I don't want to say men, some men cannot do. So when you begin to look at this classification, it is very true. It's very, very true. And I think that in today's world, I think that if I've actually been who I am, there has been a great force from the feminine sex, that is from the woman. So there are many women whom I actually look up to them, even as role models. And so I don't think that uh, the women should be exempted from education. It is very, very important. I think that the young people in their levels of education, we have classes and classifications of education. We have the nursery, we have the primary, we have the secondary, and the tertiary system of education. To be able to orient these children, especially at these low levels, I believe so well that we can do it. And how can we do it? We have guidance and counselors in these schools. The job of a guardian and counselor is to be able to make a child or a newcomer in an environment identify him or herself within that environment, exploit his inborn skills in a way that we can actually be able to, it can reflect itself physically in the way he or she acts. So these guidance and counselors in our world of today, which I think that some of them are either enrolled into these fields without them even having the passion. Some people are just trying to get a matricle, and so if I should go into if I should go into guidance and counseling and I'll get the matricle, so be it. And so some of them don't even have the passion to work with these students together, to work with these pupils, these children in the primary school together. And that is why a teacher will not care if sometimes there is that orientation. You actually speak to the parents of these children. Orientation is also done back at home. There is that need for the parent to be able to identify that this is what my child comes back home and the child is doing every day. And you talk to the teacher of that child in school and make sure that that child is actually being guided, being coached towards that particular path or field in which he or she actually, you know, explore or portrays those skills. There are some of these children that while young, we saw them, they get to fix cars with little bamboo. This is engineering. They are interested in carving phones. Children are interested in seeing things and get back home and they are doing the carving work. They are doing the art work. You can already identify that
Can you
actually
get
this
me
type of
now?
thing.
Can you get me? Yes. I wanted to ask which careers can we actually promote today since we find that most of the professional schools that we are talking about are not even professional in themselves. So, what careers can we promote so that we should be able to answer some of the questions that parents are asking out there? Did you get my question? I was actually asking the careers that we can promote because that is a problem we have out here where parents don't know actually what to do. And sometimes when you ask them even to, accompany the children to choose a career, they have problems because they themselves are not actually oriented to be able to know what is good for the child. And sometimes, equally, like you talked of guidance and counseling, when they propose to children in school, the parents already have a particular idea that they want the child to either follow their footsteps, but then the children don't have the capabilities or don't even love what the parents are proposing, and that becomes a problem for even the child because, like you said, they get enrolled into programs, and at the end of the day, they cannot even finish or they complete from those programs and they are not able to put in anything because they didn't first of all love what they were doing, and so it always has to go equally with passion. And you talked of our educational system being a transmission orientation where the student is considered an empty vessel, and today we have switched from the competence from objective based approach to competence based approach, and I think that should be already a way of solving the problem of not thinking that children are empty vessels. And so, like you equally stipulate that we should orientate our students, especially those who are entering into universities, before admitting them so that they are able to go into programs that they love to equally do. And why not involve our designers, curriculum designers in our school systems so that they should be able to help design programs that will be useful. One last word from you. What would you tell parents who are listening to you now and are so eager to know what to do to be able to orientate their children to different schools, and equally the powers that we have, the authorities that are in education? What last word do you have for them, Mr. Butu?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Elvis, for this other opportunity. I think that basically we are in the digital economy. We are in the computer age. And if when we talk about emergence or development, we are looking at those aspects. The only thing that brings the kind of emergence that we begin to imagine every day are things like industrialization. Yes, the theories of whether it's urbanization, the theories of pollution are there today, but it doesn't mean that the developed economies shall stay developed, and so we, the less developed economies, should not industrialize. We must increase and put in our effort to see that we actually emerge. And if we must emerge, we must be looking at producing engineers. There is this this acronym, and that is the STEM. The STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is very, very, very important in our world of today, in the developing economy. I think that if we must emerge fast as we want, we should promote the STEM fields. If you send your child in school, you should make sure that you are able, to follow up these children to see that they are not joking with mathematics. Mathematics is the core to whatever system is in this world. It's very easy for a math student to come and grasp a history textbook and read and understand and pass very well. Come and grasp a geography textbook and read and pass very well. Very easy for a physics student to do same, for a chemistry student to do same. But if you are a history student and you grasp a math textbook at the advanced level, but you will not be able to do anything. You will cry, you will regret, you will not even understand what is taking place in there. If you grab a physics textbook, you wouldn't. That is to tell you that there are these fields that are so special. They are like mind openers. They broaden our thinking, and they are the STEM fields. We are moving towards an economy that we need. We need. We need people to promote industrialization. We need people to promote the ICT. We need people to promote to produce engineers. So if today we need doctors, these are the various fields that assist greatly in an emerging nation for it to develop. So I believe so well that if there is any parent, you should be able to monitor your child and ensure that he or she, let him or her not request for money for ICT textbook and you hesitate to give. Don't hesitate to buy your children mathematics textbooks and workbooks. Don't hesitate to buy your students anything that concerns engineering, technology in school. Promote your children enough. I urge the government of Cameroon and curriculum designers to also do a lot of promotion, to put and pump in enough finances in the field of research, because research is it that promotes us. Research is it that assists us to get information. When you are informed, you are in a better place. You stand a better chance of growing.
Thank
So
you.
to the
Thank you
parents,
so
I
much.
believe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Butum. We are running to the close of our program, and our take-home message is STEM. We have science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we are going to call on all parents who are listening and watching us live on Facebook as well as on YouTube to take this word STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So let us encourage our children, boys, girls as well, to be able not to shy away from maths, because girls always think that they are not supposed to offer maths. And like one of our viewers talked of women being discriminated in our educational system, is because sometimes they want the easy way to go and end up going out of school without school passing through them. And we get stuck always in what we have learned, which cannot help us. I want to thank you, Mr. Butum, so very much. We were taking this topic again, and we are happy that it went through so well. We thank equally those who have been watching us, and we say stay tuned to our programs. More programs will be coming up, and share equally our link so that many youths can come and join us. Mr. Butum, I would like to have you again on this platform. You've been a resource person, and you've been so inspiring to many parents who watch us. Thank you so much, and we leave you with our jingle, and stay tuned to other programs on our platform. Bye bye for now.
Thank you. I'm